All right, here we go. Wednesday nights. God, I'm a jabroni. I forgot to remind everyone we go early. I didn't send out a text like 2 hours ago, like 9 o'clock Pacific, 11 o'clock Central. So hopefully all of Petro's followers are going to jump in here as we start off this late night happy hour, which we're toying with the name. We like it because it is our daily mantra. I gave this "we're not effing around here" speech after the show tonight, so I'll have to tell you about that.
Did you?
How'd
that go?
After the show tonight. I guess we'll see because it's more of a.
Why was it because somebody was effing around? Was that the problem that you had to give the speech?
There wasn't enthusiasm.
No enthusiasm, no juice.
I'm here to do shows. If you're not here, if you're not here with me, then that's when it comes out. We're not effing around here, okay? I'm here to do shows. I'm an old man. I only have so many years doing these shows. I'm not healthy. I'm eating steak every night from Meetup. I'm going to croak soon. I'm getting the max out of every show. So if you're tired, then get out.
Do what you got to do, man. I hear you. Now listen, it's showbiz. It's showbiz. If you don't give a shit about what you're talking about, why is anybody listening to you?
Example, cheesy segue. If I were a middling golfer and I wasn't winning a lot of tournaments and someone's like, you know what, you can drive the ball.
By the way, that is the worst segue ever.
I know. I do it all the time. I'm the king of cheesy segues. And then I say, here's an awful segue. But if I were a mid-level golfer not winning and someone's like, hey, you can gain 30 pounds and hit the ball 40 yards further, you're still going to be a psycho. And in fact, you may actually suffer from roid rage, but you're going to win. Will you take the PEDs?
That's remember that was the question back during baseball? Because we were broadcasting, when we acted like Sammy Sosa and Mark McGwire, weren't roid raging their way through a home run season and asked no questions. Kind of joked about it. We all kind of knew it, but nobody really did anything about it. We just slept through it. Thank you. Slept through it.
We did. You mention that often when you rip the players of the 90s and say I'm not going to say this on terrestrial, but I was a pussy. I kind of played along and enjoyed the home run thing. And then I reacted like, oh, look at this media guy who's looking in Mark McGwire's locker and he found creatine. How dare you, buddy? And now you look back, you're like, that guy was right. I was actually just a flub, but not calling these guys out as they gained 50 pounds.
Well, I think we were all party to the problem, right? I mean, that's what it was. We all knew what was going on. Like Brady Anderson, everybody knew. Right. And so you knew when these totals came around and nobody was just kind of like, oh, okay, well, they're not. Listen, the players and the owners didn't have it as a rule. So, I mean, it starts there. But by not asking the questions we needed to ask, that's why today I say I will not sleep on this again. So I will continue to ask whenever anything hokey comes up, some guy breaks out and has some monster year, I'm going to ask the question, is he on the juice? Simple as that. I mean, it's our job. We slept through it and Barry Bonds happened, and now jackasses want to try to rewrite history and not put him in the Hall of Fame, which is a joke in my opinion. He broke no rules. Nobody asked any questions throughout the whole thing. And after the fact, you want to go back and make yourself feel better because you're going to punish him? It's a joke. Not that this is what we're talking about. We are going to talk about Bryson DeChambeau, whether or not the guy's on the juice. I mean, the question has to be asked, right?
Yep.
But nobody's asking it.
There are whispers.
They're rumbling it, but has he sat at a podium in front of any of the golf media and had the golf media go, okay, how did you do it? Detail. It's like all it is like ESPN's coverage of it, and I love ESPN, right? I have issues with ESPN, but I have things I think are fantastic with ESPN, like everybody. But I'm not an ESPN hater. I think those guys are clowns because of what they've done for sports media and sports in general in this country. But their golf coverage. It's kind of like paid for media, right? When you're paid for media, like every team has their own reporter. Oh, the hard hitting, shit that's going to get asked from that guy. And listen, I know some of those guys, and they do as good a job as they're allowed to do in that job, right? And they're part of the PR arm.
Yep.
But kind of when you carry the golf, like ESPN does, you're a partner, and so you don't want to go in and ask the really difficult questions. And so it ends up being like, tell us about what you eat. Because we're just totally buying. It's all just you eat a lot of chicken and a lot of beans. And, it's just a high protein diet. Is that what it is? Like, come on, seriously. Like somebody needs to be, going old school and sifting through his trash. And, we gobbled it up on Lance Armstrong. And now we shit all over Lance Armstrong. Everybody said, he's doing it. Oh, no, Europeans, they just hate us in America. We are always right in America. We don't ever cheat. He was full of everything. He was on everything but roller skates.
And you defended the golf media, but they're in a weird position.
I really don't. I really don't.
Well, it's a small group. I actually liken the golf media to what the MMA media deals with, because you're basically going to get shunned you're not going to get any support from the other media guys if you try to step up and push back. And golf has the longest history of, just smiling and wink, wink. And they know what's going on. They knew what was going on with Tiger Woods. I mean, we've mentioned it in the past when Tiger just disappeared because of, and I do think he's had legit injuries, but there's been other times he's just disappeared for the longest time because of injuries. I don't know. Was that a positive steroid test? Was that a womanizing issue? Was it a gambling issue? Did Dustin Johnson disappear for a while because of the yayo issue? Because he's a known partier, but inside golf, most people are not, they're going to look at the pictures of Paulina Gretzky and is that who he's married to? And Dustin Johnson. And, looky here. Now, Dustin Johnson seems to have turned the corner the last couple of years. He's one of the favorites in this tournament. What is he, 20-1 in this tournament, according to FanDuel? But that was, come on. If you look back in golf history, they're dudes, okay? So they're womanizers. You're going to have drug addicts. You're going to have drunks. But that would ruin the label of the gentleman's game. Yeah.
No, listen. Tiger Woods, blew the lid off that, right? When you find out that here are these guys, barreling towards being worth $1 billion, and he's, shaking down the Denny's waitress. I mean, come on,
Perkins.
Right. Perkins. My bad. No Grand Slam. There was no Grand Slam.
Tiger Woods essentially was the next Arnold Palmer, on and off the course, because that was a rumor with Palmer that he was doinking everything that walked when he was in his prime. He was an immensely
really.
Yeah.
I'm not a huge golf guy, so Tiger's all I kind of watch. The majors, and if Tiger Woods is in it, then I'll check it out. But
been stories of a Tom Watson having issues, a nice quiet guy taking advantage of it. Hell, the lead golf announcer, Jim Nantz, was moralizing all these years and I'm not going to say damn on the air, and he was stooping someone much younger than his wife. So it happens. But then when it's offensive when, you'll have people in golf who are like, oh, baseball. The steroids. All right, guys, calm down, okay? Don't wag your finger at everyone else.
Did we talk about this? I know we were going to talk about it one night, but I am fascinated by power golf, right? I think it's long overdue. Yes, you watch the long drive competition.
Oh, it's
it's two things that have baffled my ass for a long time. How can you watch Mike Vick and watch Peyton Manning and go, Mike Vick could throw like Manning, or Manning could run like Vick. Oh, shit, what we'd have here, right? And how do you not watch a long drive competition? The guy's swinging his feet coming up off the ground and the ball going, 5,000 yards. And you go if he could putt, aren't we there? Don't we have – isn't that where the game's going? Yeah. Crush the ball and then have touch. When we find that combination, we're done. Golf's over. Okay, we've here. We've the evolution of golf has happened and occurred. This has been long overdue to me. And so if one of them's not on steroids, then there's a little bit of the racing mantra here, isn't there? If you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. If one of those guys isn't on steroids, what are you doing? If you're on the edge of whatever the AAA tour is, the web.com tour, right? Is that what it is now?
Yeah.
If you're there and just almost to your PGA card, like you said, there's so much money out there. Why would you not take a shot? Especially when you're 22, 23, 24, you're not going to take that shot? You're kidding me. Come on.
And what happens if you get caught? It's a slap on the wrist, and you probably can come back. So to me, it's worth the risk. Your balls might shrink up. You might die early. There could be long range effects, but I don't know.
27-year-olds don't think like that.
Yeah. No, I didn't think about any future. Not that I did anything that was that debilitating in my 20s.
And let's be honest, as a guy who's in a committed relationship now, you have entered your 50s. Your balls are unnecessary later in life anyway.
I don't know, man. I'm still working on them. No boxers. No boxers. I always watching porn, seeing saggy balls. I'm like, not me. This is way too much information. You know what? I'll bring up an old story real quick. Because when people do push back, when the non-golf media pushes back and the golf media is in the discussion, I'll give you a couple examples. I did a show with the Sports Pig, right?
Yeah.
And that guy gave no Fs. And, he was a guy who was kind of like, screw golfers, man. They're elitist. They're rich. They get this head start. Like, he just didn't like him. I remember, man, it was the day that Payne Stewart died, or maybe that next day. And I remember having a pre-show meeting, and Charlie Barker, who was the PD, was in on the meeting. I think Charlie was there. And Pig was like, yeah, I'm gonna slam Payne Stewart. I don't care. Like, he died. He's like, I don't care. He's like, he was a complete dickhead. Most people didn't like him when he played. So what? What's the hashtag too soon? There was no hashtags back then. But what was too soon? Like, I got to wait 3 days to go back to calling Payne Stewart a dickhead? This is a question that Adam and I discuss all the time. If so, you don't want to dance on someone's grave, but like, when do we start telling the truth about the person? That, because initially when someone passes away, oh, he was a saint, he was this, she was that, and it was all great. But we just argued with Pig, and we're like, all right, Pig, you can't say you're glad he's dead, because that's what he wanted to say. And we're like, maybe you want to go with you're apathetic about his death. Yeah. That's a nicer way to put it. But I'll tell you where it really crossed the line. I'd have to go back and listen to it. But Stuart Appleby, I don't even know what he's doing now, but his wife actually got run over by a car at, I think it was a train station in 1998. And Pig kind of wanted to do the same thing, where he was like, he'll be fine. He's rich. Well, he did it. And the guest was Scott Van Pelt, who was like all in on golf. That was his job.
Right.
And Van Pelt was not happy about that one. And like, I'm all for being completely forthright and forthcoming, and if those are the words, but being honest. But I was like, whoa. Yeah. I was actually arguing with him, like, Pig, his wife died. It doesn't matter how much money he has. It's a tragedy. I don't care. He's gonna be fine.
There's a little
Scott Van Pelt's like, I'm never coming on again. I'm like, oh, kind of don't blame me in this case.
And it ruined his career, right? Where's he gone since?
Oh, without us?
Yeah.
I would nosedive. What is he? What is Van Pelt doing now? Anyone?
I haven't heard from him in years. Listen, since we brought up our friend, the Sports Pig, people can think that they're out there. They can think that they say whatever. No, there was only one. I mean, he was so out there that he put a ceiling on himself, because at a time where people were looking for anyone to say outlandish stuff, he was out there. And I think what scared people away on that guy was that he meant it. He wasn't just saying it to get a rise.
Well, that was the thing. It wasn't a bit. Like, you see most people are on the edges and are really outlandish. You're like, clearly they don't mean that. It's a bit. And now I'm going to say something else about Pig. Like, I really don't believe, even though he was saying that about a golfer who had his wife run over, like, I actually don't believe that he was really mean-spirited. It sounds weird. Like, I don't think he was a bastard. It was just kind of like that was his mentality.
Yeah.
With wealth, and he just didn't like golfers. Yeah. ASU Whiskers is like, sounds like a pleasant fellow. He actually really was. He was a crazy, he's a crazy guy. And he was actually I'll give him credit. No one really knew this. I would call him like the beginning of blogging. He was like the first 5 bloggers of all time. Even though he didn't post, that was the way his aggregation of stories was friggin' amazing.
Yeah.
And I guess I've talked about him before. Kevin Bitter, locally here in Vegas, is saying, what kind of car was it? Oh, you're talking about, he might have asked that, about Applebee's wife. No, I thought you were talking about the Sports Pig's car, because we've told stories about him and his Honda Civic, his tiny 2-door Honda Civic, and he
could barely fit into.
It was like $475, and he couldn't fit in it. And
do you remember?
He first pulled up, and I was like, this is potentially going to be my partner, and like, I know he's named the Sports Pig. I saw him in the car, and I'm like, oh my God, this guy's 6'8" and like 600 pounds.
And you thought he wasn't tall. It's just there was so much padding under his ass.
Yeah.
He could barely get in the car. And by padding, I mean his fat ass. And he would attest to, he knew he was overweight.
Yep.
And he embraced it. And, he's a sweetheart of a guy. But, oh, shit, he could drive you crazy. Oh, my Lord.
Yeah.
One more, just because it's one of my favorites.
Yeah.
Do you remember the night we were going out? We're in our 20s, and we're going out in Vegas. We're all working at a network in Vegas called Sports Fan Radio Network back in the day. And we're out and about on the town on like a Saturday night or Sunday night, and he's doing the overnight. Friday or Saturday. It must have been a Friday night maybe. And he's doing the overnight. And his topic was quarterbacking in the NFL sucks. right? There are no quarterbacks in the NFL. And we were on, back then there were only 2 networks, Sports Fan and One-on-One Sports. There's no ESPN, no Fox. So we pretty much divvied up the entire country between the 2 networks. So he announces there's no quarterbacks in the NFL. And I'll prove it to you, name a third-string quarterback. And that was early in sports talk. You didn't really develop topics and go through stories as much now. It was a lot of caller interaction. Just open the phone lines and go back and forth with the callers. And so somebody calls in like, Boston had just come on the line. The Celtics had lost or whatever was going on. The Red Sox had lost or whatever. And EEI in Boston kicks over to the network. And they're all like, yeah, I want to talk about the Red Sox. Like, hold on. First, who's the Falcons' third-string quarterback? He's like, listen, I don't want to talk about that. He's like, no. Who's the Falcons' third-string quarterback? He had this high-pitched voice. Listen, dude, I don't care about that. Goodbye. Yep. And he hung up on him.
Yep.
It's Joe Jones. I mean, have you ever heard of Joe Jones? You've never heard of Joe Jones. It's quarterbacking sucks. And all night he's taking calls. And if you didn't play his game, try to answer the third-string quarterback, he had these, because he was so big, it looked like it was kind of like Tyrannosaurus Rex arms. Yep. Goodbye. I mean, hang up on you. People were calling and pissed and yelling at him. And like nobody understood the brilliance. And I don't even know that Pig understood the brilliance that we were supposed to be out drinking, having a good time, going into Vegas clubs in our 20s because we lived in Vegas. And we're sitting in the car at the Gas and Sip listening to him just rage out calls. It was incredible stuff. I can't remember what the QTs are back there. The quick trips here in town.
They're all crap. We actually, they're mostly crap. We did a whole topic. It was scintillating on terrestrial side about best convenience stores in town, and that we're gypped by not having a QT, a Come and Go, a Wawa. Wawa is the Sheets apparently in the Northeast is big too.
Yeah, I've been to a Wawa in Philly and I was not impressed.
Yeah, we love Wawa.
Love QT. You've been a QT. Come on.
I love it.
Quick Trip.
I love it. No, it's great.
Is there anyone better?
Great. It's clean. The employees are nice. The selection is ridiculous. Yeah. It's awesome. They
also can count change. And if there's ever 2 people in line, more people come running up to the register to get you checked out. It's none of this crap standing around with some jackass like, can I get a Mega Billions? Give me 2 of the pick 3s and give me one of them Fuzzy Bear tickets. Can I get a Skull and a pack of Marlboros and shit? You're sitting there like, no. They come up, they got 9 registers. They're not worried. There's not like one guy in back like, oh, shit, they're mixing drawers. Oh, my God, somebody might lift $3 from us, right? They pay their employees. They're not pissed to be there, It's like how fucking business ought to be run.
I love it. I wanted to get into some Kansas, Missouri stuff around the Cardinals, but I do have to ask you a question that kind of breaks away from one of our topic tree. I'm not going to say who it is, but we have a newcomer. Well, you won't. We have a newcomer in the media. He's new to the market, and he went to. Yeah, we started early. We started at 9:00. I keep forgetting to remind people that we started at 9. Yeah. He's new to the market. He comes on the show. We start talking about food in Vegas, and like the immediate take was, "It all sucks here. It's not as good as Missouri." And I was like, "Whoa." And it was one of those moments where I'm like, do I flamethrow this guy who's brand new to the market and like has never been on the show? Do I just let it go?
KC guy or Missouri or a St. Louis guy?
I don't know. I know he's from one of the finer journalism schools in the country.
So he went to Mizzou.
Yeah. So, and I think sometimes, again, he'll understand. I think when you land in a new city, I don't know that you go like,
hey, you guys are shit and don't know anything.
Right. Like the food's terrible. No. Like you've been here for a week. And the other thing, when you're on radio too, I'm like, all right, this dude better not start like hammering local restaurants. Like we got to do business here, dude. I don't know. We haven't addressed it. He's a young guy, so I'm not going to go crazy on it. But I was thinking like, man, I don't know that I would do that, but maybe I would do that if I were, like you said, when you're in your 20s, sometimes you just don't know better.
You don't know better, or you're just, you don't know better. There's no other reason, man. Everybody wants you to say who it is, man.
Nah.
No? Wait, where was the one? Wait, where was the rhymes with?
Rhymes with. Everyone loves rhymes with.
You got one that it rhymes with?
No, but I'll transition to this. If I come on with you, every once in a while, if I just like went in on some local restaurant and was like, "Yeah, you took me to Oklahoma Joe's, and God, it sucks. Barbecue's better here." Like, would you be like, "Dick, what are you doing?"
By the way, I would like to point out for anyone from KC watching that's how long ago I took Steve, is when, because like about 7 years ago, they rebranded as Joe's Kansas City Barbecue.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So it's old school. I've been taking you there for a long time.
I'm a Gates guy because Kirk, your buddy Kirk and my buddy Kirk, took me to Gates, and he explained the whole system where, like, whenever they take the order, wherever you are in the building, you just start yelling. And I was like, nah, not yet.
No, as soon as you walk in the door.
I just walked
up you.
Yep. I walked up to the counter and everyone's like, what is this motherfucker doing? Sorry. But like, I think I actually got a couple MFers. I was like, oops, sorry.
Listen, this is what I always say. Like, when I was in Vegas, I think 16 of the 17 biggest hotels in the world were in Las Vegas. Yeah. And it's the same thing. Nice, Ryan. It's the same thing when it comes to barbecue. Like 16 to 17 best barbecue places in the world are in Kansas City. And there's a ton of great ones. Joe's, they own it as far as I'm concerned. They're the best. But like if you're number 7 in Kansas City, you're number 7 in the world. If you're 15, you might be 16.
I'm going to throw this out there. I'm not going to react to it because you never know when they may advertise with us. But this is a chain that is here. You might have them there. Nope. Sorry, wrong one. This one. Lucille's Barbecue.
Never heard of it. Is it any good? I don't know. There might be somebody who's good.
Solid.
Might be somebody who worked in KC, learned how it's done, and went somewhere else.
Adam Hill chiming in.
Yeah,
we have an Arkansas barbecue joint here.
Listen, like I said, there's good barbecue elsewhere. The best in the world is in Kansas City. Nobody, because it is the most competitive. Right? It's the most competitive, and like you can't suck. They put time and energy into it. They care, man. It's not just like, oh, we'll slap some sauce on it and we'll call it barbecue. No, it's a process.
Hey, Stepchild, I'll give you a good laugh later on when I predict that Rutgers will beat Nebraska in the Big Ten opener. How about that?
If you really want to give everyone a big laugh, you drop your pants.
Oh,
I was like that.
What's going on in KC or Kansas and Missouri with COVID, and what was the reaction to the Cardinals with the outbreak? Because boy, that can get mean, can it? Because there's so many people in your area who freaking love or hate the Cardinals. Yeah. So what was that like? Because God, people are childish with this stuff. Like it is a debilitating virus. Not everyone recovers from it easily. And I've seen so many people who are like, Cardinals, Louisville football. Like, let's all relax.
Yeah.
This is not a sports topic.
Right. It's like we're not cheering for the virus. Okay. You're not pro-virus. It's not, that's died down a lot here since the Royals won a world championship. Yeah. Right. All they had was, while the Cardinals were way better, was like, well, we beat you in 85. And so that's died down a lot. So the Cardinals are kind of just another team. Like, that used to be the only game that mattered, was when the interleague play came around, was to beat the Cardinals. And the Cardinals would come into Kansas City, and then they have like 2/3 of the stadium would be red because the Royals sold no tickets. So they bought all those tickets immediately. It's died down, but I mean, how can you not be afraid? I mean, listen, let me ask you a question. So I brought on a beat guy today, and Alec Lewis. He does a good job for The Athletic, real good job. Young guy though. But he is very good. And so I brought him on, and the Royals announced today that they put out a lineup, and then they changed it, right? So we go through the lineup. Here's what it is. They changed the lineup. They announced Bubba Starling was in the lineup. They announced that they're sending one of their pitchers out, Sparkman, IL, forearm tightness or something. He's injured. Bring it up. Somebody else. Bubba Starling, IL, nothing mentioned. So what's your conclusion?
I have no idea.
You have no idea what it is, or it's obviously COVID?
Dude, I don't know what each sport is doing.
Well, that's the thing, is like you can't put out
Right.
And so most of the guys, when they don't say, like Yadier Molina came out and said, okay, yeah, that's what it is with me.
Do we know the other Cardinals?
Yadier Molina is the only one I've seen listed, but I haven't spent a lot of time looking for it.
I saw Jack Flaherty.
Okay. So, and
I mean, baseball came up with this rule. You don't have to say who it is.
Right.
So,
but you can't. I mean, it comes under the HIPAA laws.
Okay.
So I brought up to him, I said, so what do we think? I said, and he's like, well, I don't know. Who knows? Who could possibly know? I'm like, well, I don't know. When they don't put the injury out, I think COVID. Oh, I don't want to speculate. We're left to do nothing but speculate like that. And actually, by the way, maybe it's not your job on the beat, but on the radio, that's my job, is I will speculate.
Yeah.
I will speculate because if I sit and wait for the team to tell me what's going on, I'm never going to get shit because they're going to put it on their website before I ever get anything. So speculating is the only shot I got, right? And so, we break our share of stories, but,
This is fishy. This is the write-up. So Royals didn't provide a reason for his placement on the injury list. When does that ever happen? So.
Listen, I talked to some people. What I heard was he had some symptoms. They're hoping it's Mike Moustakas like Mike Moustakas had symptoms. The Reds sent him home. As you know, Steve, I DL'd him on a Monday in our fantasy league, and then he was playing the next day because it turns out negative test, false alarm, wasn't anything.
This week, 5 home runs.
Did he really?
No, I'm just saying that's your typical luck in fantasy. That's when they go off. And in a 60-game season, you lose a week with 4 home runs. It's like, all right, forget it.
Yeah, that's it. We're done.
I'm screwed, especially since you might not get 60 games out of every player. So is there a chance the Royals, could this be a freaking outbreak?
Listen, I think every team is one false step away. One false step away. You hear reports the Cardinals were at a casino. The Marlins, Bob Nightingale saying the Marlins were out and about on the town. And then Derek Jeter's going, our players weren't out and about. Come on. I mean, listen, I can tell you I've seen some Instagrams where I'm like, what are you doing? Like, you're out at dinner. Okay. I mean, that's not doing everything you can. I'm not going to tell people what they should or shouldn't do. And I'm not.
I will. With so many people relying on you in baseball, I will. And if I'm making that kind of money, I can sit in a hotel, the kind of hotels they stay in. I can sit in a hotel room the whole time and barely go out and make sure I'm masked up. Maybe because I'm old, I have that kind of discipline. And you know what? I'll admit, it's
way easier when you're an old fart, Steve. Come on. It's way easier for us.
And I said it a few weeks ago that I've gotten loose a couple of times where I went into bars and was a little bit risky. So I can't say I'm 100% guaranteed, but I'd like to think that I'd be okay just sitting in the room, but I don't know.
I would totally be, because it's all I do now. Like, I go on work trips, and everyone's like, hey, let's get into. I'm like, I'm going to sit here. Like, I have kids. I have shit I have to do at home. I'm going to sit here having to do nothing, and I'm going to love it. I'm going to love every second of it, just sitting in a hotel. I am gold doing that. But I'm tired and old and worn out, and we ran around Vegas for years. You still run around Vegas, for God's sake.
Dude,
I ran around Vegas for a few years.
I run around on the road, man. There was more than a few days doing UNLV stuff the last couple of years where I was like, I'm going out, man. I'll go out by myself.
Listen, I went to the Super Bowl. Chiefs were there. Everybody wanted to hit parties every night. Oh, the Chiefs were there. I'm like, dude, like, I can barely speak the next day after I go out.
That's
so I'm
different.
Not going anywhere.
That's different because the work days on this UNLV beat and doing a show, like, I don't have to be up at freaking 8 a.m. to have a show ready and then cover a game at night. Super Bowl, like, you start at freaking 8:30 in the morning and you're going till 11.
Yeah, we were up and out of there before 7.
That's craziness.
We were up and out of there before 7. But to get to the hotels, because the NFL and their infinite wisdom put them like 50 minutes away and do everything where you only have to go through Miami rush hour. I'm not complaining. The Chiefs won the Super Bowl. It's fine. Everybody would love to have been down there. I'm not complaining, but I'm just saying, like, the days are a bitch. The days are a bitch. And doing it once or twice, it's great, but it becomes a grind like everything else. I will say this. I have gamed the game on that, though. I'm not staying in the stupid Super Bowl hotels anymore, paying $400 for some rat trap. There's a thing called Airbnb. I had a view of the bay, for nothing.
What is your Mizzou gold and panties rant? Black and gold panties rant. Do you need to do it, or can we just use this as our natural transition, courtesy Big Mar 11, to get to a little college football?
No, do it as our trade. Like I could do it. Like I've had some calls. Listen, if you're not singing the praises of one school, you're hating on them. So like if you're praising a different school, you get some calls. And I had somebody try to. There's been a couple of them, but I've talked about the fact that Missouri's never been to the Final Four, and that is a disgrace, and that has to be priority number one. Is to rectify that. Like it's not as hard as Mizzou makes it look to get to a Final Four. And this complacency of like, well, if we can do this, everybody goes to the Final Four, freaking everybody. Loyola went to the Final Four. Everybody goes to the Final Four. And most Missouri fans get it. Like they feel that way. But there's like this old guard that's like, I'm fine just being shitty. We'll just, I got good seats, and don't anybody tell me whatever. And then there was one time I went off when a guy called and tried to claim that the Mizzou team was better that year than Kansas. And Mizzou had a good team that year, but they weren't better than Kansas. And so I went through a spiel where I ended up saying, listen, Mizzou is your pimp, okay? I think I said something to the effect of, big hat wearing, fur coat, Cadillac driving with the curb feelers. They own you. They are your pimp. Yeah, there it is. Curb feelers.
Made an impact.
It apparently went viral, and all the Kansas people have saved it on like their phones and stuff. I got one guy who says like every basketball season, I start the basketball season with this rant. And I went to Syracuse, for anyone who doesn't know. I respect and appreciate and root for all the programs. Good programs make for good talk radio, unlike what most people think. Like things sucking like makes it better. No, that's not it. It's not
the worst.
Apathy sets in.
When you guys talk college football there, how do you deal with Mizzou being in the SEC? Like, I still can't get my head wrapped around it. Like, are they just out of the mix now because you guys have to be Big 12?
They're not in as much because we don't have to be Big 12. We do Mizzou. And when Mizzou was winning, when they won 2 division titles in the SEC, you do a lot of Mizzou. I've never done my show where I'm going to, like the Kansas City Star, if they do a Missouri article, they do a Kansas and a Kansas State article. Right. And I won't do that. I'm like, listen, I will cover the stories. If your team sucks, and like I said, apathy set in, there's no reason to pay attention to it. Don't ask me, why don't you ever talk about Kansas football? Because what do you want me to say? They lost again? I'm moving on, right? So what they lost was, a game between Baylor and K-State being a big deal because Mizzou was next on the schedule and getting pulled in ancillary-wise, right? When Mizzou is the topic, when Mizzou has something going on, big recruit, changing coaches, you pound it like you always did. But they don't get dragged into the conversation because they're all in that same conference. Like Nebraska used to get a lot of run. And when they went to the Big Ten, we do as much Nebraska stuff. We got plenty of Iowa fans and Nebraska fans. And I think if Nebraska would get good, there could be a little more Big Ten talk. But yeah, it eases away, right? The Big 12 affects 2 of the schools, and so more of that stuff gets talked. But all right, so are we going to have football?
Yeah, what's the vibe? What's the vibe for Big 12 fans? Because I can tell you, I went on the air today, and I'm like, day to day, I'm a roller coaster, right? Day to day, I'm like, yeah, football's here. We're good to go. Like today, I was so fired up hearing about the Big Ten, I think, stealing the thunder from every other conference. They're like, yeah, we're playing. We're going September 3rd. What are you guys doing? Because everyone else is like, September 26th. They're like, nah, we're rolling out September 3rd, 4th, and 5th. We're going to have 3 weeks of college football. We will have pretty much all of it outside of a couple of non-cons from the conferences like the Big 12 and the ACC that are going to play some non-cons. But beyond that, the Big 10 will dominate TV ratings, dominate college football betting because they made a shrewd move. But yeah, I went on the air today. I'm like, college football is back. Yesterday, I read multiple stories, player at LSU and a player at Indiana, where they're like, the LSU player's like, I've lost 30 pounds. I can't eat. I don't care. I have no taste. Like, this is tough. Wear your mask. And then there was an Indiana player. His mom's like, they're doing all they can for my son, who's a true freshman. Like, the school really can't protect your son from the extreme effects. They're saying the kid has heart conditions at 18 years old from COVID. But like every day I'm like, all right, like I'm fired to play football. And then the next day you're going to be like, okay, well, it is dangerous. Like I'm all over the place.
I think it's the run of emotions we're all having, right? We want it. But I think if you're a caring human being, then you understand the risks that these guys are taking. And it has to be part of your thought process. I listen, Big 12, they're fired up. The Big 12's been pretty cavalier. They want to play 12 games, and they're finding replacements for the games they've lost against the leagues that are saying they're not playing non-con games. And so I think everybody is just saying we're going to run until we fall off the cliff. Like, that's what it is. And we're going to go. And I know we're going to talk about it, in a little bit. But, yeah, are they going to have any players? Are they going to have any star players? Like Micah Parsons opting out from Penn State. I mean, I've got an AP vote, and I was putting together my All-America team. I've already submitted it. It's not due yet, but I already submitted it. I got to go back and change it because I had him on there as a linebacker. He was the first linebacker I wrote down. And so, they're going to lose firepower. I don't think it'll kill the viewing, right? But it really affects Penn State, which people thought this might be the year. At Happy Valley, they thought this is the year that we can catch Ohio State. They have a really good team. They have the quarterback spot. They've been recruiting well, but they just lost their best player on defense.
Soren, they're going to announce all the schedules here in probably the next 10 days, and we'll get fired up on those days. But reality is a lot can happen with COVID. A lot can happen at each school in terms of what the players see. Like Colorado State's got a situation where, I don't know, apparently the coaches there are like, don't tell anyone, don't go get a test, keep trucking on. Oh, it's not a big deal. That starts to happen in other places. There's going to be more and more players who are good draft prospects, because we've already had at least 3 of them. Minnesota wide receiver out. VTech, I think he's a defensive back out. Parsons,
corner.
Guy. Yep. They're looking around. They're like, "What? What am I doing? Like, I got a whole career at stake here. I'm not." You read the story about the Indiana kid at 18 who's got a heart condition potentially. So the next 6 weeks, let's see where we are. How many good players get to the finish line. And the other thing is, now it's go time. Now it's go time. So for all the players, like, my school, Rutgers, is abysmal. I'm hoping they're going in the right direction, bring back the old coach. But the morons went to an on-campus party, and now they got 28 positive tests. Louisville, which is, it's all about athletics there. We just found out 29 members of the athletics department. Like, guys, now when you test positive, now we're starting to talk getting ready for the season. Like, Louisville going into the beginning of the ACC season, and especially Rutgers and anyone else in the Big Ten, like, now the 2s and 3s may have to play. Now 2s and 3s may not be available. So, guys, when you do this and you F up other people on the team, now you're affecting the whole program. Like, wake up.
Yeah, I like for me, I want them to play. I hope they play. I'm going to cover it if they do play. I wouldn't play, right? I would tell my kid not to play. Yeah. So I got no problem with anybody opting out. I have no problem with anybody playing. But I do think that, I think we, like you said, we ride the waves of emotion. I think the Marlins being back, the Cardinals coming back, says, okay, massive hit. It sucked, but they can come back. I will give the Big 12 this. Bob Bowlesby was the first guy to speak honestly about this subject. I had him on my show, and he said, and then he kind of did a media tour. I think I was probably like the second guy to have him on. I read some comments he made with somebody. I'm like, we got to get Bob Bowlesby on. And I would call down. I'm like, well, this will probably take a month. Yeah, he's good tomorrow. I'm like, oh, okay, great. And so we bring on the commissioner of the Big 12, Bob Bowlesby, and he says, listen, we got to understand it's going to be a bumpy ride. We have to learn to live with the virus. And he said, we got to be prepared that the team might not be able to play. We got to be flexible in scheduling. We've got to know that, some team just might not be able to field the team. And how are we going to handle that when that happens? I was like, holy cow, man, this is real. They don't know how to control it. But then I actually gained strength from it because, and this is where I kind of feel about baseball, I feel a little bit better because they've come back, is like, here's a guy who's being honest and saying, okay, there will be problems, but we think we can overcome it. It's like what scares me when I listen to Andy Reid, and by all accounts, the Chiefs have done a great job here in Kansas City at setting everything up for them. But like, these Zooms, you ask your question, they immediately mute you, so you can't follow up. Nobody goes back in with the same question, And so you ask Andy Reid, like, hey, Adam Teicher from ESPN comes on my show, asked me, said, listen, are you worried? You're 61 years old, right? You're overweight. Like he just said, you're in a high risk category. He's like, are you worried about this? And Andy Reid goes, oh, the safety here, the precautions that we've taken, we've done this, and this, and this. It's like, no, we're asking about you. Right? That scares me when a guy won't be honest with you.
Yep.
Bob Bowlesby.
You are old and fat.
Yes.
You're older and fatter than me. And like, I'm a little bit worried. Like,
me too.
I have a pain or ache in a day or, on a certain day or.
Is my throat sore? Oh, do I have a sore throat? Oh my God. But yeah.
Yep.
Am I hot? Holy cow. What's going on?
What are the symptoms?
Is that pink eye? Oh no, I'm just hungover. Never mind. Okay. Listen, I mean, yeah. And so I like it. When he won't answer it, I'm like, you're not making me feel good. Right. Yeah. I like it when a guy will address it. And Bob Bowlesby did that. So I think they're going for it. I think they're going to do okay getting to the season.
Yeah.
But I don't think they're going to keep kids out of bars.
Right.
Right. And that's what got Major League Baseball. And they got millions on the line.
I mean, we've already seen it. Every time a state lightens things up, people are like, we're past it. Right.
Yeah, and again, it's all good. Yeah.
I mentioned my home state of New Jersey, like 16,000 people died. Not as many as New York, but you're a sister state. The guy starts to open things up. He says, all right, no gatherings over 500 people. And then immediately there's a week of parties all over the state from the Jersey Shore to Northern Jersey, South Jersey. They had to break up one party that had 700 people. It took them 5 hours to break it up. And then all of a sudden there's a surge and the governor's like, all right, back to 25. Like, it's not over.
Yeah.
You look at the beaches, there's people on top of each other. It's not over. So to get past it is just nuts. Now, this is an amazing time for coaches because you've got a lot of college football coaches who are, I'm guessing the Colorado State thing is true. Steve Adazio, who comes over from BC, is just, he's a buffoon. A lot of player complaints about him. He is a jack off. I don't know how he got the job. But you could just see that guy leading a program where he's like, don't be a pussy, toughen up, buttercup, COVID hoaxer. So you got coaches like that. They don't want to hear excuses. And now you got players uniting. Some of these old school coaches, their heads are going to freaking explode.
Yeah.
Did you read the Big Ten United list and the demands? Because I read through it and I'm like, yeah, they're asking for safety. Looks pretty good to me.
Yes. And I look, I think this is the thing I said today when it comes to it. It's that, do I think they're going to get everything they want? No. Do I think that they're going to hold fast and strike as a collective across college football? No, I don't. I don't think they have that kind of organization. But this, Missouri had a threatened boycott. And it was really more of a Black Lives Matter thing. It was over racism on the campus. And, everyone poo-pooed it. And, certain people in the media are like, oh, my God, they're radicals, all that kind of thing. All right, fine. But here we sit and we see that didn't go away. It's now manifested itself in our streets. And the teams, all sports, are now talking like Missouri was talking at that time. Do I think this is going to get it done? No, but they're ramping it up. They're taking that next step. And I do think with all the money, what I think is amazing is 3 years ago, every school was fighting name, image, and likeness, right? No, we're not paying them at all. Now they're begging the federal government to do their job for them and give them laws because the players have said, name, image, and likeness, up yours. Like, there's hundreds of millions, billions of dollars. We want 50%. They're shitting in their pants at the schools because if they ever do organize in any way, they're like, whoa. Like, no. I don't want like $30,000 for signing some jerseys at the local knickknack store.
Right.
Like, I want $350,000. I want $3 million. And they've got a leg to stand on to get it done.
The jig is up. Because there's a couple things that have come out the last couple of weeks. And we hit on this right when Stanford started dumping all the sports. And we're like, wait, what is an endowment? And like, no one ever asked about endowments. We're like, $27 billion. You can't get an answer from anyone on what the endowment is, what it's for, who contributes to it. Is it just this giant hedge fund? Is it just something they get to brag about? What do you mean you have no money as an insurance policy? And now, today, we hear this one from John Wilner, and I'm sure the Pac-12 didn't want this to get out. The Pac-12, as insurance for the football season, has just taken out a $996 million loan as a backup in case football goes to shit. Wait, you have
the wherewithal to pull $1 billion loan.
$1 billion loan, and you're like, the players get $10,000. We'll go broke.
The argument that I love that I think is so stale now is like, oh my God, when I was in college, I would have loved to have the sweatsuits, stayed in the dorm, the fancy dorm, get all the free shoes, get all the free meals. Yes, but would you do it now? No, you wouldn't do it now, because that's the difference. They're making more money for that university at their age than you ever dreamt of making for your company now. Don't compare them to you when you were in college. You were a snot-nosed jackass just trying to figure out how to cheat through your 100-level classes, right? Trying to figure out where you're going to get laid, where you're going to get booze, right? Does your fake ID work? Okay, that's who you were. That's not who they are. They are more of a comparison to Patrick Mahomes, to NFL players who are making real money, who get 50% of the draw. They're looking around going, wait a minute, this is bullshit. There are billions of dollars. I want mine. And so the comparison of everybody wants to act like, well, I would have taken – it doesn't matter, shithead. You didn't make any money for them. These guys know they make real money. They're not going to get it done this time, right? But they are eventually going to get a lot more than just name, image, and likeness.
And Diggler says, going back to – releasing schedules, and I'm an idiot. I was doing it today, like all fired up that the Big Ten has an early schedule, and I'm ignoring all the risk for at least for a couple hours while I'm happy. The dream of college, or dream of college sports is a dream. Big Five fumbling over each other to release schedules is irresponsible, dangerous, and inspired by greed over health.
Is releasing the schedules inspired by greed, or if they actually play that schedule? Like I would say, releasing the schedule, they haven't played yet, and they haven't actually started practice. They have brought them back to campus. Right. And I think that is a questionable tactic. I'm there. I listen to a couple of friends' podcasts that they do, PFF Forecast. Right. And Mina Kimes was on, and she said, and she does NFL for ESPN. And she said, every time I write, hey, here's an NFC South preview, I tweet out, like, check out my NFC South preview. I get people going, why are you doing this? There's not going to be a season. And I agree, that's out there. And that's a little bit of what Diggler is there, right? But then she said, well, what does that do to advance the cause? And that stuck with me. I'm like, well, what is Diggler's job, or what is my job, or what's anybody's job? What is the cause, first of all, and what is our responsibility to advance it? Like, I think it's Diggler's job. I think he is a smart guy to say, I think we need people going, should we even be releasing the schedules? I think we should definitely be asking, should we release the schedules? I'm fine with releasing the schedules, because to me, at the end of the day, should we play? I can't tell you, like, is there a value on a human life? The answer is yes, there is. An insurance company will tell you what it is, right? They'll tell you exactly what it is. Government leaders will tell you what it is. They had to determine what it was to storm the beaches of Normandy, send people overseas to fight. There is a value. There is things that outweigh the value of human life, whether you like it or not. Is football it? I don't know. No, not for me. Not if it was me or my kid, it's not. But for others, if that's your only shot at a real gig, and I can't give up my showcase to try to make the NFL, I need to play. I want you to play because I need to showcase. I can't say that kid's wrong, and I can't say that coach is wrong for coaching him. This is a big boy issue, right? A big girl issue. It's like a tough nut to crack.
Left Coast Mike says, I want to see college football more than anything, but I'd love to see each and every player give a middle finger to their schools and to get paid their fair share. They deserve at least 75% of the revenue. I'm not into the numbers, but I think the notion that players are going to push back and they will have a voice, and especially against the coaches who are jackasses. And I think we saw that this week, because dude started getting all puffy and threatening players, and then it got out and he had to apologize quickly. Nick Rolovich moved over from Hawaii to Washington State, and that blew up in a day, and Rolovich is like, whoa. That's not the way I meant it. I was misunderstood. Sure, Nick. Sure. Yeah. You said, hey, be careful going into that United group. We know what you meant. But it went public. And listen, some of the snitching is going to get a little out of control. But for the most part, it's needed, because there are coaches who don't get it and have always wielded a lot of power and intimidate guy. Come on, what's gone on at Iowa? God damn, if I hear one more person around the Big Ten rip this school or that school for coronavirus, and this school's a joke, they don't win, and obviously I'm talking about Rutgers because I get annoyed by it. Fuck Iowa. Why would any kid go to that? Seriously, F them and F the fans, because they're all part of this. That staff has been mistreating. It's a racist staff. They've been mistreating.
Racist staff that almost killed their players because of the workouts being so demanding.
And they're still all around. And then
the guy was just got fired 10 years later.
Yep.
They just you almost killed him with your workouts being too intensive?
Yeah.
Okay, that's okay. Right? But finally, because society said, no, we're done with this shit across the board.
Right.
Well, Iowa had to go, oh, okay. I read a number. I was 33%. Their team is only 33% African American.
That doesn't surprise me. It's going to go down.
Maybe.
Good luck going in. Well, with this coaching staff, good luck going into urban areas and competing without, being asked questions. But you know what? Who knows, man? I just had a conversation the other day with, I was asking it wasn't like a personal conversation, interview with LZ Granderson, who's LA Times and ESPN and ESPN LA. And was bringing up a kid from Watts, who's a recruit, who's looking at Fresno State, UNLV, and Mississippi State. And I just said to LZ, black kid from Watts in California, I was like, what would you say to a kid from Watts who's considering going to Mississippi State? And it was like a very measured answer. He's like, I'm not going to tell him not to go, but his eyes better be open. His eyes better be open. And I would hope kids' eyes are open about Oklahoma State. I would hope kids' eyes are open about Iowa too. So
yeah, I think they have to be. But if that's the best chance you have to showcase your talents and try to get paid in the NFL, and that's the only way you think you can go. And let's be honest, there's some guys that's like, oh, why don't you go be a rocket scientist? That's not an option, and the kid knows it.
Yeah.
Right. It wasn't an option for me. Right. I wasn't smart enough. So I had to find just be a blathering idiot, Okay. So we all find our niches. Some people's niches is to play ball. Listen, don't get me started. Anyone who's heard me in KC, I think college football, college basketball, college athletics, being an unpaid minor league system is absolute bullshit. I mean, the European model, the club sport model works. I remember Sporting Kansas City came online. They signed a kid 15 years old. The town shit their pants going, what? He's going to lose his high school years? He's not going to finish school? No, he actually goes to school, right, and has tutors, and then he goes and plays. And, oh, by the way, he has $500,000 in the bank. And if he doesn't – and he's doing what he wants to do, right? Like the whole – we've always thrown darts like Dirk Nowitzki was sent to a place to play basketball when he was 13 years old. Yes, and he's really upset about it right now. It has just – been a shitter of a life for Dirk Nowitzki. Yep. How does he get up every morning? He seems so unhappy at having done that. Like, listen, the culture. If a guy – ball is life. How many guys have told you that's a phrase in the basketball culture. Ball is life. You told a kid when he was 16, these guys and you know who they are, number 19 and the under 15s, right? And you told that kid, listen, you don't have to go to class anymore, right? Or even better, we'll help you go to class because that's what the soccer clubs do. And you can just go focus on ball and go play. Like they wouldn't all sign up. But no. You got to play at least 1 year because we got a bunch of fat-ass donors that want you to wear Duke on the front of your jersey for at least 1 year. So we'll give you a bunch of shoes and give you some cash under the table and shit. Your dad can go, your family can go from owning a $150,000 house in South Carolina to owning a $1.2 million house in North Carolina. At least that's what's alleged with Zion Williamson. It'll all be cool. Play for a year, then you go get paid. As opposed to just paying Zion 3 years ago and letting him work forward. Right. But everybody wants their college football and college basketball, so they don't give a shit what's right for the kid, which is fine. Just be honest. Just say, I don't give a shit about the kid.
Right.
I want my college sports.
We know we're going to abuse them. Yeah. We are selfish. I want to get to our wild card topics here in a couple of minutes, but I know it's a significant NFL story because it tells the tale of why some organizations don't get the job done. I know you looking in from Kansas City on Vegas, you saw that PJ Hall essentially got cut. Then the Vikings stepped up to grab the second rounder. The Raiders picked him in 2018, conditional 7th. Then he goes to Minnesota, or at least gets the physical. He fails the physical. They're like, we don't want him. Raiders get him back. All right, we're going to cut him anyway. But the bigger story here is there are organizations who get it and win, and then there are organizations, and I think the Raiders are getting in a better direction. We don't know, but you can't miss on the 57th pick this badly. You just you can't. You can't. There are players. If you look through that draft in 2018, there are useful players later in the second, in the third, the fourth, and the fifth. And I've said it a million times in the air already, but when you miss on the 57th pick, then there's a rollover. Like Fred Warner went later on in the draft. Well, guess what? Then the Raiders don't have a good linebacking core, so they got to spend money on Corey Littleton. And you look through that draft. I mean, that was Gruden and McKenzie was fading badly. Right. He had a couple of really bad drafts at the end. And you're never going to convince me that was all Reggie's draft. Like Gruden was part of that draft.
He was definitely part of the draft.
That's turning out to be that is bad.
And I think it was Gruden's draft, and I think that's why they got help because they recognized right away. Oh, geez, what do we do here?
Colton Miller should have gone like 55th. Now I think he's gonna turn into a good player. But there's also the value game, and that's the other thing. Even Mayock now, and this is a big debate on the value game. Like Mayock's like Cleveland Furl last year, 4th. Yeah, he can go 19th. Nope, 4th. Let's go. Like,
wait, and it's like that's great that you love the player, but you have to play the game on the board. Now, listen, I will say this: you have to have somebody to trade with. Like trade down. Well, you don't just hit the trade down button and you get a slide down, right? Somebody's got to be there willing to do it. Give an example. Like I think the Chiefs would have moved out at 32, but once Jordan Love went late in this year's draft, all the phones went dead. I talked to a number of guys around the league that I know that are in personnel, and they said it was like the only team calling. The only calls were about Jordan Love, and when he went off the board, that's it. Everything shut down. It was crickets. You had to make your pick, right? So I think the Chiefs would have loved to move down. They got Clyde Edwards-Helaire. They need him now, especially with Damian Williams opting out, but I don't think that was their first choice. But if you look at that Raiders draft, Colton Miller, P.J. Hall, Brandon Parker, Arden Key, Nick Nelson, Maurice Hurst, Johnny Townsend, Akeem Victor, Marcel Aitman. All right, a first, a second, 2 threes, a 4, 2 fifths, a 6 and 7. Colton Miller starts at left tackle. He's all right? He's all right. They got him with pick number 15. P.J. Hall, they cut. Brandon Parker is a backup. Arden Key, backup. Nick Nelson doesn't
By the way, pump the brakes on Arden Key for a second. Make the team.
Yeah, he might not even make the team. But
they brought in
he's on the roster.
They brought in a lot of defensive linemen. He was talking shit the other day. He's like, we're fine at defensive line. We don't need Jadeveon Clowney. Like, he's feeling it. He knows.
No, he knows because he moved Khalil Mack, and it's time to start winning. But Maurice Hurst plays, but if you go by just Pro Football Reference, they give him not that like he's just a guy, right? And listen, he's an upside guy that had a heart condition, was a lot better, was a huge recruit. We know this story, but he hasn't turned into being a stud by stretching the imagination. Johnny Townsend's a punter they cut. Akeem Victor, I don't even think is on the team. And Marcel Aitman is on the roster, but figures to get cut with the receiver additions they made this year. That draft is a disaster, right? It's a disaster. But listen to this. Tell me what names anybody would recognize outside of the town they were drafted in. Breland Speaks, Derek Nottie, Dorian O'Daniel, Armani Watts, Tremont Smith, Khalil McKenzie. By the way, Khalil McKenzie is the son of Reggie McKenzie, who you were talking about, who was the Raiders personnel guy, who was a defensive tackle at Tennessee, and the Chiefs made him a guard. They carried him all year, inactive all year. They cut him the next year. Tremont Smith returned kicks, ended up being released. Armani Watts is still on the team. He's a backup. Dorian O'Daniel covers some kicks. Derek Nottie, one guy who does play, starting defensive tackle for the Chiefs. Breland Speaks, played a little bit of linebacker in his first year, was hurt all of last year. That's the first draft of Brett Veach, who is Wonder Boy right now. And rightfully so, being called Wonder Boy with what he did in the cap. Almost every GM's first draft sucks. Listen to this draft. Tell me, name this guy's, right? And so that's what John Gruden was, a first-year GM. Name the guy that jumps out at you as a difference maker. Adrian Clem, J.R. Redmond, Greg Randall, Dave Stashelski, Jeff Marriott, Antoine Harrison, David Nugent, Casey Tisdale, Patrick Pass. Do you know whose draft that is? Any idea? I thought J.R. Redmond might tip it off. That's the 2000 New England Patriot draft with Bill Belichick.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
I left off one name.
Yeah.
And the 6th round, they got Tom Brady. That draft is ass. It is absolute ass, except for Tom Brady. And they walked by. Their quarterback coach was trying to take him every pick from like the 3rd round on, and they kept ignoring it. Scott Pioli said to me, he said, listen, do we think Tom Brady had ability? Do we think he had stuff? Yes. Do we know he's going to be the greatest quarterback of all time? No, because we wouldn't have passed on him. We'd have taken him in the first round or 2nd round, first chance we had when we got him. The first draft is hard. It is freaking hard because you've got so many other things you're trying to do. You've got old scouts, new scouts, trying to put in your philosophy. The first drafts in the NFL are hard. They're really hard. That being said, second and third drafts should be easier.
Right. It's also part of that whole formula where maybe you shouldn't be the chef and in control of the kitchen. Just cook. Just cook.
Just cook.
Yeah, you don't have to go out and do the shopping like Parcells wanted to do. There's only a couple of guys who can do that.
There isn't a GM that will keep his job under an owner that's worth working for, right? I know that's a double qualifier there, right? But you don't want to work in Cincinnati. I don't think you want to work in Dallas. There are different places. Like you would go have talent in Dallas, but you don't want to work there. But there is an owner worth working for that won't make sure that his head coach has a say. They all get it, right? It's not all head coach. It's not all GM. The head coach should have the hammer, right? But no head coach should say, I know all the seventh rounders better than you. And no GM should force a first or second rounder down a head coach's throat.
Right.
Just like you will not force a topic down my throat.
Oh, I will.
You will. It's coming.
I'm skilled at this. Adam Hill finds this out every day. He's like, I don't really want to talk about this. I'm not comfortable revealing these details. These are wild card topics / maybe it's time to eat the shit sandwich.
Okay.
I'm going to ask everyone in the chat room, wife or girlfriend. It's mostly guys who are hanging out here. If it's gals, answer about your husband, whoever. If it's guys who like guys, your mate. Girls who like girls, your mate. Is your wife / girlfriend spending more or less since the pandemic, the lockdown began? Are they spending more or less since March, the middle of March? Let's say the beginning of April.
In my house,
maybe a surprise.
I'm trying to think. Well, what did you think? Where was the money? Give me the betting line, and I'll tell you the truth.
I don't know what the betting line is. I just know here, I feel like we're just replacing everything any chance we can. There's something on that friggin' front step from Amazon every goddamn day. I'm doing the show, and I'm like, all right, who's on camera? Another delivery guy. Okay. Now, admittedly, I am a cheap ass, so I don't like buying anything, but I feel like spending is up and income overall in the household is down. That's not always a winning formula.
No. Income is down across the board, myself and the missus, as her job.
Petro seems to be hesitant.
No, I'm not hesitant because I think I know what you want to hear. I think you want to hear that my wife spends more. My wife actually she's not a big spender. She's a consistent spender.
Okay.
And I would say with the most boring answer I could give, the same.
Okay, that's good.
Or less, and maybe it's less because I never drive. I never leave the house.
Right.
I work at home. So like literally I bought like 2 tanks of gas in like 5 months. And she probably drove all the miles.
Yeah.
Right? I get out to get my mom groceries, me booze, and that's it.
Yeah. We're getting mostly less. So Razorback scoop less. Risk guy one, something like that. Worst guy one.
But you didn't ask my spending.
Well, let's hold off on that in a second.
Okay.
Because I like to indicate mine. Let's see. Less Left Coast Mike. Less money, 88% more bitching and complaining. Mr. Tiger Gator, same as always. Yeah. D Walker LV says, put it to you this way. I have an Amazon package at my house every day.
Yeah.
Cam Dog 83. Girlfriend spending less, working from home, less gas, fewer times eating out. Less because of vacations going bye-bye from B Dunn 888. Mark Dianza says spending differently. Okay. Ryan Carl Hill, a big budget guy. I know you live a wild life. Spending far less. I'm going to get a text from his mom. Wouldn't even Venmo $20 the other day. Women. Okay. I didn't know you were with someone. Okay. That's good. I want to come full circle here though. She may be spending more, but on buying some new stuff, but we never go out now. Yeah. And you're right. We're not spending money on gas. We can put a dent in a credit card at a bar. And everything now is being bought at a liquor store. And I'll set you up. I would say I'm spending about the same because I'm cheap. So I haven't gone up.
So like on deliveries, I'm spending more.
Yeah.
Right. But we spent nothing on food. Right. We spent way more at the grocery store, but we would eat out 2-3 times a week. And you got 2 kids, you got a family of 4 going out. And like I said, I go out with the fellas. That's going to be a bar bill. That's going to kick you in the ass. All that came down. Our grocery store spending went up.
Yeah.
Right. But like early on when it's like, oh God, if you touch anything, like now it's mostly everyone says, okay, it's an airborne virus, right? That's mostly where it is. You don't want to just grab everything and be rubbing your eyes and all that kind of shit. But like early on, like I wouldn't leave the house without the mask and the gloves. Like I was that guy.
Yeah.
I had glove. If I went in anywhere, I went to my tax appointment before they'd ever even shut it down. I had gloves on and a mask on. And my tax attorney's like, "Are you sick?" And I'm like, "No." All right, well, calm down. I'm not calming down. All right, so that spooked me. Now I'll go pick up food. But when I go to the drive-thru and Jackass is wearing his mask like a chin strap, I'm like, I really want to just pull away here. You know, I really just want to drive away. That shit scares me. But so our cost on that went down. But like I am now the king of Amazon, man. I listen.
So
I got a new desk here, bought it, put it together. Like I'll buy whatever. Need some underwear? Sure, I got it all figured out now. So there's an Amazon package all the time, but our spending's down. We just don't get out to go buy it in person.
Right.
My spending's up though.
Next wild card question. You ever move furniture in your house or rearrange a room that's not this room you're in right now without asking your wife?
You want me to answer that first? I know where you're going with yours.
Yeah.
No, we fight for like a month before any possible movement is made.
Yeah.
There's the back and forth passive aggressive shit that has to occur of, well, no, I fine, do whatever you want. No, you do whatever you want. I'm never moving a piece of furniture again. That's it. Let's just get rid of all the furniture. Let's just sit on the floor. Like you got to go through that shit, you know, like you're 12.
Yeah.
I've got to go through that whole process. And then, you know, I'm told where to put it, and then I move it, and then I replace it, and then I just try to do whatever. This area that I'm sitting in right now that we're turning into like a studio area, is the first time I've just taken control and said, all right, that's it, I'm going.
Right.
And it's worked well.
I'm
but
proud.
No, I don't mess around with that. I just try and fail to do what I think she wants to be doing.
In the chat room, who actually makes these moves without a conversation? Because that's what I did today, and I didn't even mention it. I was actually like kind of building up. I'm like, okay, she's gonna be out of the house like for a whole day.
What did you move?
You know, it was a very simple move.
Just take some of the Game of Thrones shit down.
No, we have a dining room table of sorts, but we never eat at the table. And guess what? No one comes over now. 1, they don't like us. 2, because of the pandemic, right? So there's this table sitting there. Well, meanwhile, I bought a bar, like kind of cheap bar, but it's a bar. I bought it like 3 years ago, and it just sits in the corner. And I'm like, that's enough. The table's a waste. I'm going to put it somewhere else. It's probably going to go into the loft that we have. It's not a big house, but we have a loft, and that's where all the furniture I won't throw out is. So it's a furniture storage area. I'm like, I'm using this bar, right? So here are the odds. Here are the odds on the reaction of me just moving a proper dining room table and just putting a bar in that space, and it just clears out the whole house, right? I have a lot of clutter, so when I get a chance to declutter, I will. Here's the odds on her reaction. Mild pissing and moaning was -180.
Okay.
Complete and total meltdown was -130. The dog was, hey, what a great idea. I really like it. was plus 200. Listen.
All right. Then I'll tell you a story about what I'm living through right now.
Take guesses on the chat line. Mild pissing and moaning, total meltdown about me just moving furniture wherever I want, or hey, what a great idea. I really like it. Was the dog, and you were going to fetch plus 200 on it. I'll give you the answer here in a second. I'm going to go like mild pissing and moaning is like totally like that's it. Like mine would be I would have replaced that with passive aggressive
little said passive aggressively, knowing the war is coming later. Right? That's how I would have described the minus 130 favorite in that scenario. Like I've made my wife live through a lot of renovations, right? Like, my old house, this whole house was a renovation. And like making decisions is not a strong point, like over there on her side of the equation, right? But like my war, while we're letting people make their predictions, my war is she told me, like we had something planned before the pandemic and we put it off. Now we're like, well, we got to go. And then of course now the numbers are bad. And I sit here every day like, gosh, shit, should we be doing any work here? And she wanted fans. She's like, we got to get new fans because the fans she picked out originally in the kids' bedrooms were cheap. And so they make noise.
I know, right? But it was like this, dude, you're a saint because I'm so cheap. Like you redid the house. How long has it been? Like 3 years, 4 years?
5. It's been 5 now.
5 years.
Coming up on 5 years. Yeah.
Like so, my fans need to fall on my head and slice off an ear where I'm like, yeah, that's broke. We need to replace it.
Everyone, there are 2 girls and a girl, a young lady, and a woman that live in this house with me. And they all, like, every morning is a progress report on how they slept. Like, it is like how we begin the day. How'd you sleep? Oh man, I woke up at this time. And so I'm like, like, Jesus, like, I'm lucky if I can make it to the bed before I fall asleep. Like, I don't get this. Like, so, I can hear the fan. I can hear the fan moving. Well, turn the air conditioning down. I don't get it, but whatever. That's what they want, right? It's okay. So
can I jump in here? Because there are people, like, we actually use fans as sort of a pacifier. Like, we like the noise. Like, I have kind of loud fans because it's consistent noise. I don't know.
Yeah, no. Listen, the white noise thing. Yeah, I have an app on my phone that I'll play for like white noise to like. I have tinnitus, so my ears ring, so I need noise, right? Otherwise I can't go to sleep from wearing headphones my whole life. But so I was like, okay, let's get this fans, okay, and we'll get this project going. That was like last September, right? It's October, it's November, it's December. Like finally in like January, I went down to the fan store. I took pictures, right, of every fan in there. I'm like, what do you want to do? Which one? February, March. And then finally I'm like, it's April, it's May. I'm like, okay, we got to get this thing done, right? I want to get it done because the winter's going to fall and winter's going to suck. Numbers are going to go way up, right? So we got to get this thing done. So I'm like, listen, you got to pick. Like, you can go down there and pick it out yourself. I went down there before the shit, so you got to pick. She's like, okay, let me look at them. Okay, I'll take these, right? So, okay, here we go. So now it's time. They're here to do the other stuff and get the fans put up. And I put the fan up in here. I got one for in where I'm sitting. I'm like, okay, I'll get a fan in here. I get the same one. It's silver. She wants white ones upstairs. She comes in. I go, hey, what do you think of the fan? I think it's pretty good. It's rolling around right now above my head, making it nice and cool. And I go, what do you think of the fan? She's like, yeah, I don't like it. I go, well, the ones you got are exactly the same. They're just white. Oh no, they got to go back. And I was like, okay. And she's like, well, I mean, they look. I don't like how it's not up on the wall. This, that. It should hug the ceiling. And I was like, okay, get whatever you want. I walked out. And she's like, well, she got snippy. And so I just went. I walked and sat down. She goes, oh, you gonna throw a tantrum now? I said, no, I'm not throwing a tantrum. I'm just done. The fans are on you now. I'm out of the fan business. Do whatever you want with the ones we already got. Just whatever.
Nice. Answer on my moving the bar.
Wait, can I make my bet?
Yeah.
I don't think you bring it up unless it's minus 180. Mild pissing and moaning. Oh, and complete meltdown was the favorite. You read the odds.
No, I put complete and total meltdown in the middle at minus 130. The favorite was mild pissing and moaning, and then the dog was, hey, what a great idea.
Yeah, okay. You don't bring it up unless complete and total meltdown was it. It's not a topic, so I'm going to go complete and total meltdown.
There's another reason I may bring something up, and it's basically just to slap myself on the back. Adam Hill made the right prediction. It was the mild pissing and moaning.
Okay.
Because I walked in the house. She's home before me, and I was like, over there, to the left. I'm like, well, am I going to the left? And I'm like, yeah, what do you think? And she's like, I don't know what's going on. I don't know why the table's there. I don't know what's going on, but I can't deal with it right now. I can't. I'm like, okay. So I explained, my reasons. I'm like, we don't use the table. The bar has storage. We have all these bottles, all these glasses. We're going to use the bar. Right. So the winner was actually mild pissing and moaning, but within an hour and a half, like, we do the show at 9. She walks over to the bar at 8. Right. She starts putting stuff in the bar. And then I see her doing a shot and she's like, oh, that went down the wrong way. And I'm like, what is, and then all of a sudden there's a speaker there. It's blasting music. Like, now it's fucking party time. And I'm like, I have to go do the show. 5 minutes later, she's like, yeah, I'm going in the pool. I'm like, what is happening? So I think in the end, like, she didn't say, hey, what a great idea. I really like it. But that's how it turned out. So
she wanted to be consulted, and you didn't consult her. You heartless son of a bitch.
Because it turns into what you said. It'll never get done. So in this case, I'm just like, that's it. That's it. And then the other part of it was, because the mild pissing and moaning was, like, I did it literally, I had 45 minutes free in the middle of the day today. So I started just moving shit around. So it's a little bit messy because I was getting rid of clutter and throwing stuff out in the kitchen. And she's like, there's all this stuff around. I'm like, I'll get to it. But the big move was done. So enjoy it. And then it literally, because we drink. Like, that's what the goddamn bar was for. So this worked out nicely.
I love it.
Sometimes I nail it. And actually, Adam knew the answer. I didn't tell Adam the story, but I'm also with someone who is mostly happy and really doesn't complain much. God almighty, if she did.
Aren't we all?
That's the problem. If she did, it would be Armageddon every day in the freaking house. Because all I do is piss and moan about nothing.
I'm actually, I think, right? Like, this is where there should be outtakes from our life, right? Where it shows whether or not whether we're right or not.
Yeah, Mark. Yeah.
I think I'm a pretty swell guy, but I do not react well to hostility or passive aggressiveness.
No.
Right? I think I'm like, yeah, it's all good. Like, I'll do it. Oh, I got to do a little extra work. Okay, I'll do a little extra work. I gotta stay up later to do whatever. Oh, okay, I'll do all that. But it's like when you do it and then it's like, well, that sucked. Oh, really? Okay.
That's I don't react well to that one either.
Can you tell the guys hanging the fans? They're right there.
Yeah. Let's do it.
Right there.
No,
There's a phrase that I have used, and I don't recommend it to any other guys out there, but I have used this when I tried to explain, like, getting things done. And I think it's a wonderful phrase, but it might not have the desired effect that you want.
Yeah.
But it's perfect if it would be taken the right way. And that is lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. Okay.
Wait, hold on. We have another podcast name. We're getting rid of it. Follow.
Or
how come why do all of them have curses? Or get the fuck out of the way? Okay.
I've got another one about the 3 F's too. We'll tell in another episode.
Hey.
Listen, lead, follow, or get the fuck out of the way. I mean,
that is now the name of our legal podcast. It doesn't really make any sense, but I just want to drop that.
It makes all for the legal. Yeah. The phrase makes all the sense in the world. If you want to lead, you lead, and you deal with what comes with leading. You take responsibility for the shit. You go make it happen. You want to follow? Okay, you follow. You don't have to take responsibility for shit, but you don't get a backseat drive and be like, "No, I think we should have run right." No, you're following. You're following. I'm leading. You're following. Right? And if you don't want in on it, get out of the way. Now, I have expressed that phrase to my 2 daughters. I don't tell it to them that way in its truest form, but I'm trying to impress upon them, listen, in life, lead. And you don't have to do one all the time. You should never do one of them all the time. But in life, in every situation, you can either lead, you can either follow, or you can get the fuck out of the way. And if you understand that and you adhere to that, you're going to be successful in life. Just look at me.
Mike, don't knock around your wife. We're not trying to inspire that, but
no, just lead, follow, or get out of the way.
Left goes Mike. I hate passive aggressive attitude with my wife, and I always think, what would happen if I gave her the Undertaker's tombstone move? That's not good.
It would not be good. You would go to jail. That's what would happen. That's not what I'm saying. That's
Inside dope from Adam Hill. You guys nearly killed each other over the Kelly Johnson eligibility. Is that leading, following, or getting the fuck out of the way? I like how is that the shortened version? Like gut foot W?
I didn't know. I've never tried to spell it out like that, but I would say two people. You're always passive aggressive in the baseball league.
I was following. And I eventually got.
And then you tried to lead.
And then I did.
You wanted a backseat drive.
I did all
three. It became an epic clash.
I did all three.
Yes.
In the end, I did get the fuck out of the way. That's awesome. All right. Well, I think Ari's still on here. I am probably going to use that lead follow or get the blank out of the way. So that's a good one.
Listen, there are days Jed leads with the guest. Like I have not. There's once every 2 or 3 weeks where I say, let's get this guy on. Jed books a guest. He leads. I follow on the guest. He tells me who I got. I get ready for him. Right? Mm-hmm. Topics we discuss, and then I lead. Here's where we're going. Right? If you adhere to that approach in life, it'll be good. Especially if everyone around you will adhere to that approach as well.
So let's close on this with a radio theme. We had Chuck Powell on about 2 weeks ago. Chuck gave me,
and that's all I hear is about this Chuck Powell visit.
Yeah, just one visit. We had him on, and I told him
it's a miracle he showed up because he no-shows me every time I book him.
Hey, naps. He does a morning show, and he told me about something they do on his show, and I was like, yeah, I'm stealing that, and we started to steal it. I give you full permission to talk about your home life, but also set these odds like I did. I think that works in Kansas City. I guess that's next level Petro, and then you get to tell stories about your wife and your kids.
Is this segment we just did?
Yeah.
Set the odds?
Yeah, set the odds.
Yeah, I think it'd be
Is it dangerous for you?
Petro lost. No, danger for me is going to come tomorrow at like 10 a.m. when she speeds through this and looks at it. No, this has been because she knows you and likes you. Yeah. So she likes to watch this. So I'm hoping she gives up, 50 minutes in. So
I hope it was really boring early. Where does she watch it?
I don't know. I've never seen her watch it. She just tells me. I was like, yeah, Steve and I were talking about this. Yeah, I know. I saw it. And you said this and this and this. I'm like,
is she on Facebook?
No Facebook.
I was going to tag her. That could be trouble.
No Facebook. She's anti the social media.
God, I wish she was on Twitter. Tag her.
She will search it on Google to
really?
go like when she hears something, but she has no accounts on social media.
Okay. So all right. I don't think I can time mark it to give it to her, but that's the dangerous. See the good. Well, I'll be self-deprecating. You have a lot more listeners than I do, and I'm guessing that your wife gets feedback anytime you talk about her. Like her friends probably, she has a lot of connections that will listen to you. Yeah. My significant other that never listens, doesn't care. She has a couple of snitches, but they actually like the show, so they don't go back and snitch on me. And most of what I say about her is true. She's nice, so there's not a whole lot of complaining.
Right.
You on the other hand, oh boy.
That's bullshit.
If you get rolling, oh boy.
Listen, that's bullshit. I said today, my sister-in-law makes this like snack mix, and she gave me like a huge Ziploc bag of it, right? And, like on Sunday before she and her family headed out of town, and it should, probably last like a month. It's 3 days later. There's like 2 bites left. It's like so bad. It's like, and then like every other fat guy, I'm constantly starting the low carb diet, right? Like, here's this giant bag of carbs. I mean, whoa. Because you know what? You know why? You know what the problem is? You want to know why you're a fat ass? If you're like me, it's because when you get a snack mix, the key is to get like half a handful and jam it all in your mouth so you can get all the flavors together. Like I don't want pretzel and then bugle and then Cheez-It, and then what else does she put in there? She puts wheat thin, and then a oyster cracker.
Holy!
I want one of each all together to really get all the flavors. And I'm still trying to figure out why I'm fat.
It's a mystery. I still haven't figured it out.
No.
You get this. I'm drinking a light beer.
There you go.
Full of sugar.
Well, at least you. Yeah, that's like a 250 calorie drink. What is that? It's
the Natty Light Natter Day.
Yeah, the Natter Days. Yeah. I may have relatives that distribute that. I'm aware of what the caloric breakdown is. Don't act like that's a light beer, because it's not.
No, it's not. All right, we're back next week on Wednesdays. Remember, Wednesdays, 9 o'clock. Tomorrow night, we've got the legal podcast that goes down at 10:30, and we really appreciate so many of the folks in Petro's area watching, and spread the message, and also check on both of our Twitter accounts. I'll make sure to put up a schedule, and also if you can subscribe to Twitch as we try to build the audience there, and also YouTube. So good show tonight, Petro. That was fun.
Always fun, buddy. Always love working with you, my friend.